That's a joke, you're supposed to laugh. A little bit about myself. First and foremost, I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian for 40 years. Everything I say and do is permeated through the Bible first. If you find me on Facebook, on my personal page, my campaign page, everything is through the Bible first and foremost, and then for political stuff, through the Constitution, Declaration of Independence. My background is, I grew up in Kentucky. I joined the Navy right out of high school. I spent almost 30 years in the Navy. I started at the bottom, got commissioned halfway through my career, and I retired as a lieutenant commander for the Army and Marines. It would be a major, just so I can spell it out for you. I think there's a Marine here. I forgot to bring my crayons and coloring books. I'm teasing, sir, I'm teasing.
Are you ready to take me where I need to go?
Yes, sir. So, I retired from the Navy, and I taught for the Navy a couple of years, Lockheed Martin, teaching Navy guys to work with weapon systems, the radar systems, the things that I worked with in the Navy, very high-paced. Sometimes you got to think quick when somebody shoots a missile that's traveling 2 times the speed of sound at you, and you got about 20 seconds to respond. So those kinds of things. I worked for the Navy for a couple of years, and then when my parents and my wife's parents over here started having some physical problems, we moved to Missouri, kind of halfway between both families, keeping the road hot. We figured out too late, you need to move close to one parent to adjust to the other one. Because one time we were, my family in Indiana, and she had to drive 10 hours back to Arkansas to visit her family, take care of stuff. We've been here 11 years. We live up in Salem. We've got 4 kids, 3 beautiful grandkids. Let's see. Several years ago, I became a substitute teacher, and then I became a certified teacher the last 2 years, teaching 3rd and 5th grade. All through my career, as I'm putting my resume stuff together, God created me to be a teacher. I've taught one-on-one, small groups, teams. I've taught shipboard stuff. I've taught guys full auditoriums. I'm teaching small kids. I didn't think I'd love it, but I love working with small kids because I get to teach them biblical values. In my classroom, I taught boys how to hold the door open for girls and teachers, passing out books, all those kinds of things. I've taught my kids about our American history that was based on biblical principles, and that most of the time, our founding fathers quoted the Bible almost 35% of the time. We've broken down Declaration of Independence and Constitution line by line by line. And as we march through history, we'd always go back to those documents going, what do these say? And I taught my kids that the underpinning of the foundation for those documents is the Bible. You take the Bible out and everything falls apart, and it's what you see today. When we took God out of the schoolhouse, the courthouse, and the public square back in 1962, you're seeing the fruit of that decision. Now, people tell me, well, Frank, you're in a public school. You can't teach the Bible. You know what? I am. I don't care. They need to hear it. And I shared with some folks in the very beginning, first day of school, said, look, don't ever lie to me. My class rules, lie to me. The same thing as stab me in the heart with a knife, because God equates lying to physical murder. And my kids got it. My kids didn't lie to me, and they knew I wouldn't lie to them as well. So I love that. But I also, as I look around, I see the mess going on. I didn't plan on running. Matter of fact, even when I filed, I'm like, I'm not sure I want to do this. But people started calling me, talking to me, stopped me in the street, stopped me at church. And my wife and I were praying about it. And I said, you know what? Somebody's got to stand up. Too many times I've seen people on social media, and you've probably seen it. Hey, I wish somebody would do this. I wish somebody would do that. Somebody needs to say this. And so I would go out to people and say, you're in that part of town, you stand up. And they go, well, no, I can't. I'm the guy. I've learned in my time in the Navy, and even in the classroom, you got to learn to adapt, adjust, and overcome. You find solutions to the problems, and sometimes you got to be the voice that says, no, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do this way because it's the right thing to do. And that's just my whole life. Do the right thing all the time. And that's my campaign. And I know I'm probably running out of time here, but and I love Jack Bates. He helped us find my lost car keys last week. So we love him. We joke together.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you going to vote for him?
No, sir. Not because I don't like Jack, and I think he's a great guy. He's a good-hearted guy, and our whole goal through things I've shared with some people today in other places. I'm not going to run a negative campaign. I'm not going to badmouth any of the candidates because we all have strengths and weaknesses. We all have blind spots. We all have something good we can bring to the table, and we want God to get the glory through this thing. So, end of the campaign, win or lose, do I want to win? Yes, but if I lose, I want to say thank you, God. We give you the glory because we ran an honorable campaign. And we fought a good fight. So going back, I'm going to steal this from one of my favorite verses, and I shared a couple weeks ago, is Galatians 6:9. Let your hands not be weary in well-doing, for you shall reap if you faint not.
That's right.
And sometimes we've had rough days, but we don't give up. We just keep fighting the good fight, and God gets the glory. And as I've shared with folks today and other places, Christians need to stand up. But before we stand up, we need to pray up, speak up, stand up, and act. I've got a book over here by a guy named David Gibbs. He's a Christian. He's an author. He started a Christian Law Association. He's a great preacher. And he said this one time. He said, when we work, we work. But when we pray, God works. And folks, we need to be about God's business to change this nation around. Now, Jack, I love you to death, but one thing that separates me from Jack and the other candidates is I've already got practical experience writing bills and debating bills on the Senate floor. I've written bills. I've got one. If I'm elected, I'm going to submit, as I share with some folks here, to put power back into your hands. Because right now, these candidates at the state level, you can't get them out of office. They break the law. I've written a one-page bill to allow you to have that opportunity to give you a little bit of your power that you're supposed to have. And if anybody's seen my webpage, I put an article on there called Long Live the Kings. This is the first nation in the history of the world that we didn't kneel to our leaders. Up until this point, people always bow to the king, the emperor, the dictator. The reason being, our founding father said, we are the kings. Everybody sitting here is the king. You have a say-so in this nation. And when these knuckleheads kneel, when they're playing the Pledge of Allegiance and all that kind of stuff, what they're saying is, I don't want to be king. I give them not right. I want somebody to be my authority. We have the ability to make those decisions, and we need to hold our elected officials accountable. And I want you to hold me accountable if I'm elected, because I'm going to be representing you, and I'm sharing with folks here. As I've gone through this campaign, I have... All right, that's all right. Can you hear me? Did you do it, Jay? I burned it out. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to close. One thing I've done is I've gone through, I don't know anything about cattle, I don't know anything about law enforcement, but I've talked to folks and I've created this data spreadsheet. So if I'm elected, I get a bill, say, on cattle stuff, I can reach out to these folks and say, hey, what do you think? Tell me how to vote on this. Law enforcement, tell me how to vote on this, guys, because you're in the field. You need to know. That's what representation is. Not doing what I think I should be doing, but what you tell me to do. But first and foremost, I'm going to vote biblically, Declaration of Independence and Constitution. Over on my table, I've told folks there's some books out of my personal library. Whoever's running for office on any level doesn't have those kind of books, then you shouldn't be voting for them because they can't vote biblically, constitutionally, or based on Declaration of Independence. So they'll be basically voting their own personal opinion. And with that, I'm going to close. Sir, do you have a question?
What is who did you get in office or Jack? How about these lobbyists? Get rid of them. You said biblical.
What's that?
You said biblical.
Talking about the lobbyists. Yes, I'd like to get rid of them, sir, because I don't answer the lobbyists. I don't need their money.
Again, if you get elected, set yourself an example.
Yes, sir, I am.
On both parties.
And I'm glad you brought that up. I've already gone publicly on my Facebook page, and I told people, Governor Parsons came out several weeks ago and said, we're going to cut the budget $500, $700 million over the next year. I don't know if y'all seen that. Have y'all seen that? $209 million of it, almost a third is coming out of education. That's going to affect your kids. Now, if I'm elected, I'm going to take a pay cut, because if we're expecting you all to take a pay cut, then everybody up there in office ought to be taking a pay cut too, and I'm willing to do that.
Coronavirus.
Yeah, all that stuff, yes. So I'm willing to take a pay cut because I'm not in it for the money. I got 3 grandkids. I got a 7-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 9-month-old little girl that I would kill for. Okay, okay. But if I don't stand up for them, nobody else is. So I'm doing, that's what I'm doing. Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, it's demanding the mask, because I got health issues.
Right?
And I cannot wear a mask. It will kill me.
Yes, sir.
Now Walmart is forcing people to wear it.
Yes,
So
sir.
how do I get hold of Walmart and tell them I cannot wear one?
Well, they've already come out, sir, and said that they're going to make adjustments for folks who can't, for whatever
There's a
reason.
medical excuse, there's a medical.
Yeah, they have a thing where you just tell them I
I
can't be
don't
followed.
wear nothing like this, you know.
But you tell them whether it's whether
I
you
use the CPAP.
right. That's right. You tell them, sir, that hey, I can't because of the following reasons. They will make accommodations. They've already said they'll do that for you. Whether you are claustrophobic or whether you've got a medical issue, they're going to make arrangements for you. They're not going to say don't come in, but they've already said they'll do that for you.
So just tell them when I go on Friday Monday.
Yeah, when you go in there and say, hey, I've got a medical condition, I can't wear a mask, and they'll work with you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take questions, but I think y'all are going to have questions for all of us, right? Is that how
That's fine, that's fine, it's not that,
okay?
we can,
So I'd love to have your vote. If not, at least I've educated you.
how old are you? 37.
Oh, sir.
All right.
Vote for Jerry.
All right, I'm right there with you. A lot of times, I'm a firm believer, one bill, one topic alone. You see what happens is they shove all this other stuff that has nothing to do with that original bill. I'm a big proponent, and I would push for that, one bill, one topic. Because what happens a lot of times, like what Jack is saying, they'll get these things in committee, and they'll give you, say, 24 hours to read 500 pages. And that's just one bill. And they shove all the stuff in there. So he's right. It's hard for a representative to read these bills in 24 to 48 hours, especially when you get a mass of them. And that's why it's important for you all to be in touch with us so we know how to vote. Just like I was saying, I've got a list. If I see this cattle bill, hey guys, you all tell me, you read through it, what's the fine print that's going to be the issue that I need to be looking at? Because I don't know healthcare, I don't know cattlemen, I don't know all the, you know, I'm a teacher, I don't know all the ins and outs, but there's folks out here that do. So I think it's important that we let you all know what the bills are so you can review them and give us feedback. I think it's pretty important because you're the king, sir. You tell me what to do. I'm your servant. But I think I agree with Jack. We need to make it one bill, one topic.
Yeah, thank you. That one over here.
You're making a good point.
Not believe in this COVID-19. I think it's a flu.
I mean, look what's going on in South Dakota. The governor said, hey, let the people decide because they know what's best for their families, what's best for their lives, what's best for their business, and I agree. Now, a couple weeks ago, a lady up in Salem, her name is Karen Stevenson, got a hold of me and said her mom is in a nursing home. They won't let her in to see them and all that kind of stuff. And she was telling me some things, and she sent me some pictures. And so I did some digging because I don't know the process. Kind of find out the nursing homes are not certified, they're not checked at this local level. They're bound by the senior citizen services at the state level. So there was some elderly abuse going on. So I had to call the hotline for them to take action. But they said it's going to be 3 or 4 weeks before they can get down there. And I thought, well, that's kind of dumb. But you said the reason being for this elderly abuse is because if it's locally run, you get that good old boy network in these small towns, and then nothing gets fixed. But they can come down and do an independent study. But what they're also finding out, sir, to answer this question about the mask in these homes and these senior centers, a lot of elderly are dying because of the lack of contact physically, emotionally. I think you had, my wife just had a relative that just passed away, and they wouldn't let them have contact. They'd suffered a stroke, if I remember right. She could tell you better. They wouldn't let them have contact, so for the last week or two of their life, they had no contact with anybody except the nurses and the doctors, and I think that's morally wrong. I think they ought to have contact if they wanted.
Amen.
Okay, Mike.
You're right, it's unconstitutional. The government can't mandate you to do that. However, as has already been said, there are people who have health risks. And if they want to wear a mask, or if I want to wear a mask to support them when I go out in the store, I'm good with that. Right, the government should not be able to mandate. Now, what Walmart is doing, which you're all aware of, they're a private business, they can do that. And so we have to abide by their rules unless you've got a medical condition. But yes, the government cannot force you to wear a mask. They should not be able to. plain and simple. Now, would I want to if I'm going to go visit a relative that's in the nursing home? Absolutely. Yes. My wife would tell you, I hate wearing a mask. Now, we made about 500 one time when this first started. We sat down over a couple weekends and made 500 masks thanks to my wife's wonderful seamstress efforts. But
The point I'm going to is not talking about Walmart or private business. That's a citizen.
right, the government should not enforce it, and we should not support folks who are going to arrest
They're
folks.
talking about the open air. If you're out in a gathering like this, they're mandating everyone to wear a mask.
No, I am not a supporter of that at all. It should be up to the individual to decide if they want a mask or not. Unless, like I've already stated. However, it's gone overboard in some states. Now, there's a guy out there, and I want you to look him up. His name is Rick Green. He's from Texas. That guy has stood up and lives in Texas. Drove up to, I believe, Chicago a couple weeks ago. They were shutting down the church and arresting folks. He went up there, started speaking, talking to folks, and the government backed down over that issue. There's also, I think it's California or New York, they're telling churches they can't worship together and they can't even sing songs. That, whichever one it was, I know New York's not too far behind, that's unconstitutional, it's totally wrong, and folks need to stand up and say enough is enough. Guys like Rick Green are standing up, and we need to support guys like him. He's just a private citizen, he's not a politician, but he said it's enough and enough because he knows the Constitution
So we
inside
all
out.
base.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'm going to take it a little bit step further. If you're a felon, regardless, I think personally, if you've done your time, you've paid your debt to society, I think you should get your rights back because they're God-given rights. So if you've paid your debt, I think you should have it back because you're still an American citizen. You still have those rights, and that's what I think. Whether it's a non-violent felon or because it comes down to individual choice. No matter how many laws you pass, the bad guy's still going to do bad stuff. So even if he served his time and he gets out, he's going to get a gun regardless. If he's still back, but if he gets out of prison and he served his time, my kids done stuff, they've served their time. We've done stuff. Why should we restrict their rights? They're still human beings.
Herein lies the issue. They're not serving their time. A lot of felons are getting out.
I agree.
A lot of them, and that's valuable.
Okay, that's the issue. Okay, that's the issue. And I agree with you. If they haven't served their time and paid their debt to society, then no. But if they've done their time in prison, done what they were supposed to do, met all the conditions that set down by the court of justice, then yes, they should. But if they just let them go like they've been doing, absolutely not. Thank you. This is not an easy solution. There's several layers to this. First of all, I live up in Salem, and years ago they had a lot of industry, and now they're all gone. We had one guy, his kids went to school with my kids. I had him in class as a substitute teacher, and he was growing this business of his portable sinks. He moved to another state because the government, state and federal regulations made it too hard. So he went to South Carolina. Part of the issue is we've got to get the government out of these regulations. We've got a pharmacy in our town. It's been owned by a guy for 50 years. He told me several years ago that with the Obamacare regulations, as it came down the pipe, he had to hire somebody specifically at $35,000 just to manage the regulations. That's money he couldn't put back into his business, money he couldn't put back into his employees to grow his business. Regulations are strangling our folks. That's one thing. Now, piggyback on what Jack said, up in Dent County, in Salem, they got a guy who's a teacher. He teaches home construction up in Rolla. They hired him 2 years ago to teach that at Salem, a trade. Last year, he had a guy go to nationals, first year student, went all the way to nationals, finished in the top 25 out of 50, learning home construction, plumbing, nailing, all those things. This year, before school closed out, he had 11 guys going to state, ultimately going to, his program is growing. What they've done in this program is, because they're keeping inside city limits, they farm these students out with him overseeing them. They go to these local businesses and say, hey, we'll do this for you. And they only charge them for the materials and then 20% for labor. And so basically, the businesses are growing at a cheaper rate, and these guys are getting actual hands-on training. And these guys they're already being picked as apprentices over the summer. And this program they expected to have maybe 35 students this past school year. They had over 65, and they're expecting almost 100 this upcoming year. Because it's successful, they're working with the community to do that. We need to do that not only with wood.
Well, Thayer is, they're buying old houses and rehabbing them during the
And that's
school
what
year.
they've been doing.
And doing all that and using an expert in a plumber to do that.
Jack, I can tell you that's all good. That's part of the connection between Stokehog and the school, but that ain't gonna cut the mustard. That ain't gonna cut the ice. It's very little. We've got many, many vacant houses here, and a generation of working people moved away from here because of what's been done. And part of it was on purpose politically, starting back in the 70s, and it needs to be corrected. It didn't come from Republicans, it came from Democrats.
We've got to get the government out of stuff. And I agree with what you're saying, sir. It's awful what's going on. We're seeing up in Salem. We're dying. We're in the middle of nowhere like you all are here. And we're suffering the same problems. But I'm telling you, that trade thing you're talking about has made a difference in our school. And that's just one avenue. We've got to get the regulations out. And I understand it goes back to capitalism. You know, when we make it easy for businesses to plant and grow, it happens. But we're strangling with these restrictions. I went to a meeting back in May about the agriculture cattle issue. And there was a guy here, his name is Tony Clayton, up in Missouri. He ships animals all over the country. He said the problem with his growth are the unions and government regulations. He said we're the second largest cow-calf producers in the country besides Texas, and he can't get them out of here into other countries because of those two things. And those stuff needs to get out so you can get growing. Otherwise, we're going to be stagnant.
I'm Bill Lap.
Yes, sir. First of all,
talk to those members?
we need to get the federal government out of this. That's where it really starts. Because no matter what the state does, the federal government overrides it. We've got 35 to 40,000 U.S. veterans homeless every night. And we should be taking care of those folks who served our country rather than giving millions of dollars and billions of dollars to people who are here illegally. That's why California is in the state they're in, and it's affecting other states as well. And several years ago, the federal government, Congress, authorized them to tap into our Social Security that we have paid into. That is morally wrong and unconstitutionally wrong. And I'm against, and I think we need to hold the federal government out of this. We need to pass laws or to hold businesses accountable who hire these folks who do things like this.
While you're here, would you like to close? We'll just go right around. If you got a couple of minutes, if you'd like to say something in closing, or if you don't want to, that's fine also. Anybody else want to say